Hey and welcome, I'm Hammeh. In a quick bit of Overwatch news update for you, we're going to be discussing the potential nerfs to Widowmaker that have been mentioned, as well as the confirmed nerfs to McCree and a potential buff for D.va. Overwatch has been out for a little while now, and we know that competitive play is coming at the end of June 2016. However, in some recent posts on the forums and in an interview with Eurogamer, both Geoff Goodman and Kaplan have mentioned a bunch of changes potentially incoming for Overwatch. The first is taking a look at McCree. A bunch of people have been frustrated with McCree's huge damage output and his stun, making him feel a little unfair for some people. A week or so ago on the forums, Goodman hinted a bit as to the direction McCree would take by saying that they still believe flashbang was important against fast and agile teams and trying to deny devastating ultimates and abilities up close, such as Reether's Depth Blossom. The problem that Blizzard was looking at was how much shredding damage McCree could actually do to tanks with his fan roll fan combo. Now, in an interview with Eurogamer that went live
When I was a girl, I had a fear of spiders. I was told they felt no emotion, that their hearts never beat. But I know the truth.
Yesterday, Geoff Kaplan's jumped in and mentioned a few more things. We now know that the McCree Nerf is going to be coming sooner than any buff to D.va, and they're going for a straightforward look at the Fan the Hammeh damage, so that McCree can still use his combo, flashbang and Fan the Hammeh on someone like a Tracer, making sure that he's still a threat against squishy characters, but they're trying to tune how he's actually working against tanks. They want to be able to give McCree a chance if he gets every single bullet and really aims well to be able to take down a tank, but it shouldn't be the guaranteed win almost that it is now. Sounds interesting? Personally, I think I've always enjoyed McCree, but I can see how the sheer amount of damage that he puts out, and particularly if you're caught by a flashbang, can be frustrating. He really does feel as though he has a very good chance, if not a guarantee almost, if you get yourself on target, of shredding tanks. So this feels like a good change to me, and I know a lot of people have been frustrated by McCree out there, so it's good to hear that the Overwatch team are listening. What do you think about this change? Do give a shout. Just last night on the forums, being the 7th of June, Geoff Kaplan jumped in again. It's interesting to know that Widowmaker is also potentially on the radar for some changes. In a forum post, Kaplan mentioned, "We have some internal experiments going to see if we can keep her viable while lowering the frustration threshold a little bit. Right now it's just exploration, and if something more comes of it, they'll let us know." It's interesting to see the public or quick play response to Widowmaker. Widowmaker, it sounds silly for me to say this, but she's one of the heroes to me that feels like it has a pretty high skill cap in terms of how good you can get by improving your aim and also with your movement as well. You see a lot of good Widowmaker players using the grapple, and she's also a hero that's got a lot of transferability from other games. If you have snipers coming over from TF2 or from perhaps CSGO, you have people who are used to dealing with movement penalties on their shots, and also perhaps with slower reload times and slower recharges. So Widowmaker's rifle in the hands of someone who's good with a sniper rifle in one of those two games can exponentially get better. I get the frustration point that Geoff is kind of talking about here. Weirdly enough for me, and obviously it's in quick play at the moment rather than a ranked or competitive scenario, the quick play frustration with Widowmaker is when you have a good Widowmaker weirdly on attack for me, because it forces your defense to get out of their set position and get someone to actually almost open up a chink in your own defense so that they have to go forward to deal with Widowmaker. A good Widowmaker on defense is probably going to be moving, still equally good and equally frustrating to your team effort, but she's more of a threat that can be dealt with. If you're on the attack, you can pull your team together, and of course sometimes pulling your team together is a challenge in quick play, to try and deal with her so that you can then move forward. If a good Widowmaker is on attack, it almost means that you have to remove your set piece defense or change your defensive strategy and make sure that you're not vulnerable to that Widowmaker looking for the picks. So maybe in quick play she feels just a little bit more strong because of that to me. It'll be a delicate balancing act, of course, because you want high skill cap, high skill ceiling heroes in the game, because that's one of the things that makes it so awesome to watch, and indeed it's a big challenge for those competitive players to refine and move their skills and give us awesome stuff as a community to take a look at. So don't want to killing too much, but I can understand this frustration factor, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in competitive and ranked when that launches, and indeed the esports scene at the moment, as well as just the quick play, because obviously the two environments can feel and play a heck of a lot differently. Finally, for you mecha fans, it looks as though D.va might be getting a little bit of a buff. It seems as though that D.va's getting a look at. Again, in a forum post a short while ago, Geoff Goodman actually sort of talked about D.va's damage in a thread about that topic. D.va's damage is definitely on the low side, much like Winston's, for a reason. They're both mobile and hard to kill. However, there is some room, apparently according to Goodman, for D.va's improvements, but they're probably not going to be in terms of damage output, which is kind of interesting. I totally get that. The goal apparently should be a viable, aggressive initiation tank like Winston rather than a beefy flying assassin, so any changes are probably going to go in that direction. Now, I get this interest in sort of a bit of a change for D.va. I love playing D.va, she's a really fun hero, but I can understand why buffing her damage isn't the way forward, as Geoff Goodman's mentioned. D.va, if you give her too much damage, she feels very much like just a bit of a flying tanky flanker, and she becomes becomes a little bit almost too good, or certainly, slightly overpowered in that kind of category, if she can take more damage than Tracer, Reaper and the other kind of assault class characters. The thing for me about D.va is her survivability feels a little weirdly low for a tank. D.va very often is throwing herself into the middle of the action. You don't want to be barrier shielding from too far away, and her boosted engage kit gets her in and out of the battle pretty quickly. However, with any other character, if you narrowly miss the headshot hitbox, then of course you're missing them. With D.va, if you miss the headshot hitbox, then you're actually going to be scoring hits on her mech anyway. Her mech does have a pretty big hitbox for spammy heroes with McCree's Fan the Hammeh and also Junkrat's grenades. It feels that when you get D.va into the situation which she should be in, which is right in the thick of the action, she then fails as a tank and dies too quickly. A lot of players kind of mention that their zero suit D.va, when D.va is out of suit play, seems to be more of the time that they're playing than when D.va is in the tank and when D.va is in her mech, and that feels a little bit weird to me. So personally, how can D.va be made a bit more survivable without being made too ridiculous? D.va's damage, if you get close range and you actually get her cannons going, firing those headshots, you can actually shred people pretty quick in a lot of different ways, particularly in the midst of team fight action. So I get no damage change. Survivability change would be interesting. Really looking forward to seeing where Blizzard are going to take that. Thanks so much for tuning into this little update about some potential nerfs and buffs that are going to be coming. How are you feeling about the state of Overwatch at the moment? How are you feeling about Widowmaker, McCree, D.va? Do let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and what you'd potentially do to try and change these heroes or tweak the balance a bit. Always good to theorycraft. More voice line videos, lore videos coming up as well. I'm going to do a channel update with a giveaway and celebrate 20,000 subs with some news for you soon, so please stay tuned for that on the channel too. Cheers for tuning in. I've been Hammeh. Take it easy.